If one player's not working, you've got to try something else and experiment, especially in these types of games.
Start of the final term at Etihad then, on what's been an entertaining Sunday afternoon so far, and it's a free kick to Sydney. Centre square infringement, I would imagine. Mumford drives them inside the forward 50, reaching over the top. Reid off hands. Yong across to Wallace, bounces one outside the 50, running at the football Griffin, pushed aside though. Smith gave it across towards a teammate and Bird, who goes back. The kick from Malcheski inside the forward 50. They all meet at the footy. Carnage there. The bodies are down. Meantime, ball comes across to Goods, and Goods goes in and kicks a goal. He gets his second. And that's Yong, I think, who's down and hurt. We touched on his courage earlier. He's got plenty of it. And that was no place for a little guy.
I think he got landed. Oh, there you go.
Wow.
That's a knee right into the back.
You got to love him for that.
Yep. He's such a courageous kid, isn't he?
Yeah.
Sure is.
There he is. I mean, he got one on the head, and I reckon he got a knee. Might have been in the buttock as well.
And you know that the blokes coming up behind you are some of the big eaters, aren't they? They're coming.
Yeah. There's Pikey there. No, he really copped it. He's a gutsy young kid, isn't he?
Terrific.
And he's got a headache right now. So well done.
Yeah, when he looks back at that, he'd be proud of that. And they'll probably show that on presentation night at the club, I reckon. Well done.
He's had a good day. He had an excellent opening term, and he's done really well. Just his second game of footy. He and Johannesson, I think, have been two really shining lights in the last 3 weeks for the Dogs.
He carries the ball well, Johannesson, doesn't he?
He's a good kick, Tim, and he covers the ground. So all of what you say, yep. John Siracusa, McVeigh hard.
There's no doubt McCartney will show that in the review on Monday, just to show the courage to play the game.
So he sits it down. Johannesson comes on whilst he goes off. So one kid replaced by another couple of 19-year-olds with fascinating backgrounds. So Addison, who's kicked a career-high 3 today, tries to throw it out, and gee, gang tackle. Is that Kennedy? I can't tell, but somebody in there, obviously, with a red and white jumper on. Let's see. It was Kennedy, and he was absolutely mobbed. Felt like Justin Bieber for a moment. Here's Cooney. Well played. Out wide. Dixon and Kennedy. Dixon, gee, he did everything right, Dixon, but in the end didn't quite. And then John Siracusa, Skinner at the back, and Matner and Grundy just force it over the line for a behind. There's the vest on Morton getting ready. Shaw sitting alongside it. Gee, beards have become popular, haven't they?
Especially at Sydney.
You'd give Morton a run now, surely, wouldn't you?
I think so. Matner, Malcheski, a couple of beards combining. 5 o'clock shadow joining in. Johnson, ball around the outer side. Wood tries to sling it out of there. He's going to get a free kick. Advantage is taken by the Dogs. Addison gets it 60 metres out. How about his tackling moments ago? Just moved from one man to the other, but he's becoming an accomplished goal kicker. He's got 4 this afternoon. Oh, you got to love it.
I guess, you know, Brendan McCartney has twisted the side around so many times this year. He's looked for a winning combination in the forward line, and just by doing that, I mean, this bloke hasn't really played a lot of forward football before this season. He's really been a defender or maybe even a defensive wingman, but he has a real thirst for the contest. As Dennis was saying before, like, his tackling has been great, his pressure's been really good, but when the ball gets out in the open, he gets on the end of it too.
Well, he's kicked 7 goals now in the last 3 weeks, Addison. They're all the goals he's kicked this year, because he's a New South Wales boy, isn't he? From St George, I think.
He's showing a lot of poise as well.
He's had a really good afternoon, and the good thing for the Dogs, they're actually going to kick a reasonable score today. I mean, we talked about 84 points has been their highest score for about the last 10 weeks, I reckon. Certainly 9 weeks of footy plus the bye, so they're going to get that today, you would think. One more goal squares that off, so that's the good thing. And you reckon Sydney, unless something incredible happens in the last 25 minutes, they're going to go away from this game with a few headaches, I reckon. Top of the table, I know, but they're not going to be happy with today.
No, you're right, I think.
You still got to the ball.
Bit to think about, isn't there?
Absolutely. I mean,
I guess,
Brett, you know the inner sanctum a lot better than we do, but they wouldn't be happy with today.
Yeah, I think they'll be just talking about you just can't turn it on like a tap form. You just got to keep it consistent and keep doing the same thing in preparation and recovery and all those types of things. And mentally, they just weren't on early.
So it probably comes, in some respects, at a good time, Brett.
Exactly. 3 weeks out of finals, had a bit of a little hiccup early, but they've still got the resilience to be able to pick it back up late in this game.
John Siracusa gets it from Murphy, gives the coach some ammo. Side riding high, but he can still get into them. I mean, their only loss is that loss against Collingwood in their last 10. So it's hard to find fault if you're the coach. Coaches do, but by the same token, you can find a bit this afternoon. Roberts Thompson has the ball across the boundary line. It will be thrown in.
Human nature being what it is, though, it's not unusual that players switch off around this time of year when they know that they're going to be there with the September action. The other side is still trying to prove something for the season.
As tipsters know, it's about this time of the season you see a few upsets, as we did last night. There's Boyd taken down, gave it to Minson, in trouble Cooney, gathered brilliantly by Griffin, gets another one, boot to ball, runs close to the boundary line, taking it across is Jack. So I think the Dogs will come away from this reasonably happy with their lot, I think, provided it sticks around where it is now. Still 17 minutes to go. The week started badly, of course, when Snoop Dogg, the rapper, the gangster rapper, changed his name to Snoop Lion. Immediate impact on Brisbane last night. The ball up. He's the reincarnation, he says, Tim, of Bob Marley.
Is that right?
Snoop Dogg is saying that at the moment. And Bob's son has chimed in and says that's right. Here's Griffin, dragged down. Ball fell at his feet. Over the top goes McVeigh. Emerging with it and doing well, Jack. As Tim said, the longer it's gone, the better he's played. Roughhead brilliantly.
So Johannesson has used the ball really well today. That one didn't quite get all the way to Dixon. And that free kick going to Smith against Dixon. Talking of tipping, Tim, I'm going to, before the end of the day, I want to know, you're going to pick the Swans in either the next 2 weeks. They play Hawthorn in Sydney and they play Geelong down at Geelong. They probably need one of them to absolutely be certain of a top 2 spot. So think about it. They've got
their record against Hawthorn's been pretty good, though, hasn't it?
Oh, they beat them down in Tassie this year.
Yeah, they did earlier this year.
But you don't have to give it to me straight away, or the world at large.
I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you now.
Okay, give it to me. Are they going to beat Hawthorn next week?
I'll tip them to beat Hawthorn next week.
Geelong at Geelong?
I won't tip them to beat Geelong at Geelong.
Okay, Pike's hurt himself for the moment. I reckon Swan supporters would take that one of the next 2 after this. Let's hope Pike's all right.
Yeah, he's gone over heavily on that.
That's more important than Tim's tips.
I don't know. After the boundary throw in, Bird slips a hand pass away. Malcheski slipped over. Cooney's got it. Can't find a way out. Did well. Yong, he's back. Good to see him back. To Griffin. Another hurried kick down towards half forward. Murphy a half chance. In the opposite direction, Smith played it well. Going solidly on Hanbury was Jakira. Comes across towards Shaw. Feeds it back to Grundy. And again, they had the extra man. And it paid dividends. Mumford on the stretch takes the mark on the wing.
Morton's about to be activated too, Dennis.
Yeah, wanted to give it off, did Mummy there, but decided against it because Jetta wanted to interchange at the same time, and he was the man I think he intended to give it to. O'Keefe comes up and marks the McGlynn kick. So Jetta sits down. He's been quiet by his standards today.
That'd be a real concern for the Swans.
His ankle, yeah. Sorry, Kirky, just seeing a replay of Pike rolling his ankle.
Yeah, he couldn't put any pressure when he came off. I'd imagine they'll sub him here. Morton will come on. Wouldn't take any risks.
But you were talking about Jetta. Just 8 possessions. There's the kick from O'Keefe, and that's not bad. That's brilliant. He liked it. He's got 2 this afternoon.
I reckon Jetta, good kick by O'Keefe. Jetta's worth talking about, and we'll do that in a minute because young player, huge year, 39 goals, but in those 39 goals, in his last 5 weeks, he's only kicked 3, including today, so it has dried up for him late. Now, Mumford's about to get a crack here, which is, let's see how he goes. So on he comes, Mumford. So Mitch Morton gets a run. So we're live and interactive, Tim. Are the Swans, do you reckon they're a premiership contender?
Yeah, I do. I think they're a genuine premiership contender. And that won't help things, though, if this bloke has a serious ankle injury.
And just on Jetta, 3 goals in his last 5. That's if he gets... Gee, Skinner doing the ruck work. No more today. So sometimes young players can get very tired coming into September.
And just 8 possessions today, too. And it's been a wide-open game. Here's Morton over the top. Goods Lets it bounce, runs onto it, outside of the goal, puts it through. He's got 3. Just popping it on the outside of his boot there, about 15 metres out. No trouble at all.
Dennis, they're a very good defensive side still, the Sydney Swans, but what they've got, and we've seen it on a number of occasions today, they can score quickly. They're actually in a powerful attacking side, and they've done it at home a number of occasions too when they've got off to really fast starts and put sides to the sword.
I suppose when you look at them, I love their midfielders, but I'm not convinced about their midfield, if that makes sense. I mean,
do you just not think there's enough class there, like individual class?
Not enough blistering speed, I don't think,
right,
on big grounds. That's the only criticism I would have. Individually, each of them are strong, but there's too much like amongst them, I think. That's the only criticism, and that's being picky.
I think Gary Rowan's been a massive loss for them this year in that area.
Good point, I think. He really gave them that outside speed, which Jeddah has done all year too, hasn't he? This is their highest score here, by the way, for 6 years that Eddie had. And I think their 3rd highest score ever at this ground. So they've been a pretty good scoring team this season. A good tackle there by Dixon. They've had to go backwards. Here's Jeddah. Little handball. Under great pressure, but they did well, the Swans. In close. Hanbury look away to Shaw. Johnson just getting his breath back. And then Parker goes back to McVeigh. There's a boot loose at the moment. McVeigh goes back to Grundy. What about Goods today, Tim? Because he's been just a little bit flat. Have you liked his game?
No, he's been lively. Yeah, he's given them a lot up forward. Well, it's these ball use forward of the centre, Goods. He's so dangerous.
Malcheski kicks the ball forward. Higgins running hard. Kennedy clever. Bird, nice little sidestep. He's good at that, Bird, and that's a lovely kick. Parker over the top. Hanbury should finish with a goal. It's been a great build-up. Oh. Gee, they look good when they do that. Transition footy at its very best.
That's a good point, because we talked about that last quarter too, how they moved the ball from one back pocket to the other along the boundary line to score a goal. And again, that ball started deep in their defensive part of the ground.
They've got a lot of blokes that are prepared to work hard, Tim, so they create, carry and create. I'll tell you one thing about the Swans in a final. If there's 10 minutes to go and they're in a dogfight, they've got a chance.
Yep. Yeah, they're a good trench warfare team, aren't they?
Saw that against Carlton, didn't we, in that incredible final.
The Swans just put so much pressure around the ball carrier, and they're best in the business at slingshotting forward. They've got guys that run so hard forward, and that's what we're seeing here. Guys that get on the end of it, and they're goal kickers, they're midfielders.
129-78, back in the middle. Boyd quickly away. Another possession for Griffin. He goes to 41 now as the ball goes down towards half forward, and Lake. Well, he makes the unusual look very easy sometimes, Brian Lake, and he shoots at goal and hangs it out to the right-hand side. So, Tim, where do you see him right now, Brian Lake, going forward for the Western Bulldogs?
I still think he's a conundrum, and I think McCartney probably still hasn't been able to work him out. We know that he can play as a defender, but too often he gets led to the ball as a defender and he becomes a liability. We know he can go forward, but he doesn't work hard enough as a forward, so he really needs a really solid pre-season, Brian Lake.
The bad news for Brendan is when Rodney Eade left, he still hadn't worked out that conundrum. McGlynn through midfield alongside the centre circles, hesitates. That's an intelligent kick. Reaching up, Reid couldn't hang on, but it falls behind to O'Keefe. He was going away on his right side, so he gives it back to Bird. Now Parker runs to 52 metres out, gives it a ride. It's not coming back. Just misses to the right-hand side. They're feeling it now. The appetite is there. They were challenged early, and they're just flexing their muscle. If I was him and he kicks it to himself, that will count. Oh, I wouldn't have done that. What do you think, Tim?
No,
takes the gloss off it.
I count that.
Yeah, you got to count that.
Well, he's worked hard. I mean, you look at his contested possession. He's up to 18 contested possessions. You couldn't say that he's got his stuff on the outside.
I don't want this to get like the Olympic badminton, though, Tim.
Do a Barry Bonds again, but he did get a kick early today, Dennis, from an out of bounds on the full, and they counted it. So
no, that's okay. No, that's just kismet. You're there at the time, but I'd hate to see him work his way to the record after a string of behinds, Bruce.
There's Picken. No, I'm with you, but I want to ask Kirky about Parker. Now, Parker missed 6 games, and then the bye. He's had 4th game back, 23 disposals today. I reckon he's run himself back into some form, Parker.
Yeah, I agree, Bruce. Love watching him play, loves the contest. He's a super replacement for Jude Bolton.
So he's been a real positive today, I reckon.
If I can come back to the Jeddah conversation, I think teams started to work him out. It was probably from the St Kilda game about a month ago where Clint Jones stood in front of him, stopped his run, sort of basically like a net. Taylor Hine at the Gold Coast next week, Tuvey last week against Collingwood. So teams are starting to work out how to play Lewis Jetta, so they've got to have some kind of plan B, plan C for Lewis.
John Siracusa down the line. By that, do you mean that John Longmire plays him in a different position, a role?
Well, yeah, obviously it's for him, it's his confidence and that type of thing, but he needs to have different starting points. Generally, what we can see here, he starts at the back of his stoppage, runs through, and generally runs into the plays. He needs to come from different directions, I think, different starting points.
Well, Kirky, is he a guy with enough endurance to outrun blokes that stand him?
Well, he's got the explosive speed to beat him off the mark.
Yeah.
His endurance isn't great. That's not his strength, but he just needs to get guys to work him out, give him some blocks, give him some easy footy.
Kennedy lays it off. Bird around the outer side. Chips into the path of McGlynn. He arrives quickly. Yong, though, put good pressure on, then missed him on the ground. McGlynn bounces to his feet. Goes long to full forward. Morton into an open goal. His first goal as a Swan. It didn't take long.
Gee, look at the response. That's really interesting, isn't it?
Well, they really appreciate how hard he's worked to get back into the side.
He's a talented player. He's got things about him that do separate him from the mob, but he doesn't always put it together. He can be very erratic.
I reckon he's lacked, I don't know if it's concentration or self-discipline. He just hasn't been, there's been no continuity in his football, even within a match itself.
No, you're right. And Terry Wallace did him no favours either, did he?
Do you know, going back to Brian Lake, if Rodney got the Port Adelaide job, do you reckon he'd take Brian Lake with him if he could? Because Chaplin, I think, will go to Richmond. I mean, that'd be interesting whether he want Brian again, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and then there'd be a consideration of price in all that too for Brian.
Rocket hasn't got much here, has he? Here's Griffin. So can I give him that one, Dennis? Or
Yeah,
on the up? Okay,
no.
that's good. What's he up to? So Johannesson.
He was a whipping boy for
43.
Rocket too. Not sure he wanted to go.
43, Bruce.
Johannesson down the line. Sorry, I keep asking. I need my glasses, and then Lake over the line.
No, I'm already glassed, so you can come to me anytime you like.
So I wonder what Lake's future is. I guess he's at Bulldog forever. He's.
I can't see him going. I think they're going to try and work with him. I mean, where do you get a bloke that has his size and ability to read the ball in the air? It's just areas of his game that he still needs to improve.
There he is again. Griffin inside the forward 50. This is really something now. He's got 10 minutes to go. He's up to 44. We said the club record is 46 from memory. Simon Atkins. So
22 kicks, 22 handballs, Dennis.
He's going to do this in a canter. Grundy out of defence then. Drives it towards the wing. Missing the mark up in front was Roberts. Recovered well, though. Sweeping hand pass, nicely done. Found Smith. Jan Siracusa on his toes, hard against the line. Sends it down that line. Addison. Eventually it took a couple to get him down. Wonderful stuff by Jack. Showed them all the football and then was away. Gets it back from Kennedy. Releases O'Keefe. O'Keefe kicks down towards the 50. Nobody behind this pair. They'll battle for it. The runners are arriving now. Roberts-Thompson to McGlynn. Full-chested. Goes to Hanbury. Lines up and kicks a goal. How about that? It was like a red and white tsunami coming down Etihad Stadium.
He's a hard worker, McGlynn, too, isn't he, as a defensive forward. And when they break, he works as hard as anyone on the ground to get into that space. Now, he's only had 12 disposals this afternoon, but he's had 6 inside 50s.
He's kicked a couple of goals.
And he's kicked a couple of goals. He's set up a couple of goals as well.
Tim, his ability to accelerate over 5 metres is just so valuable.
Just watching them break and run in a wave, though, it's a really exciting thing with the Sydney Swans.
Dennis described it as a tsunami, and it's right, because they had, at times today, they've been irresistible the way they've transitioned the ball from one end to the other. And this is now their highest score for the season, the Swans. So the Doggies certainly woke the sleeping giant, didn't they, earlier today?
It's a really taxing game plan, that, for half forwards. They have to be really super fit, and Benny McGlynn, he's right up there. He's a massive gut runner.
Yong to Boyd. Now, what about Matner? We raised the subject earlier, Brett. Matner's form today and form of the last couple of months?
Marty's been hot and cold. He's probably the one of the back 6 that has been a little bit inconsistent, but I'm sure he'll find his feet over these next few weeks.
Kirk, I'm just wondering, who had the most possessions against you when you were tagging? Did you ever concede 44?
Never, no, Tim.
What about over 4 or 5 weeks, 44?
I did get Griffin quite a lot playing the Bulldogs. He was one that we always put a lot of work into.
How many did you keep him to?
I can't remember.
Of course you can.
We'll find out. We'll ask Josh. Ball comes out towards Cooney. Centering kick over Addison's head. John Siracusa did well and again deserves a goal here. That's a beauty. As good as he's kicked in a long time, and he's kicked some beauties. He's got two. And how about that? Peter Wilson will excuse me. That was the old cork in the ocean. Spinning, jumping, kicking, and he did the lot.
You reckon he'd go on next year, wouldn't you? I mean, he's kicked his 27 this year. He's a bit of a cameo player these days, isn't he? He's a 15 disposals, 2-goal man, isn't he? And
they've got a number of older players, and one of the things they're going to have to manipulate here is the staggering of their departures. This is just great work here from Gia, just to win the ball first, and then to evade the tackle, and then ultimately to be able to finish. I mean, that's just a magnificent effort.
Well, it's the Swans' highest score for the year, and it's the Bulldogs' highest score since they kicked 95 on this ground in round 12 against Port Adelaide. No, we won't give him that one. So the Dogs have at least got that scoreboard ticking over. This boy can really play, Johannesson. Well done to Boyd, who's up to 30 now. Gets it across to Dixon, who's had a good day, but that was a funny one. And now Jetta coming out. We've talked a lot about him. He spirals at Jetta about 65 metres. Markovic, now he's got to keep the ball in here. Roberts-Thompson's over the top of him. The troops come in to help, and it doesn't save him. Sometimes the cavalry work, and sometimes they don't.
That was one of those kicks from Jetta. You look after it.
Well, I reckon he did the right thing. He had nowhere to kick to, and he just kicked it as far as he could. He's going to get it back here, Jetta. Now, I just love the way he kicks the footy on the run.
You know, Cooney has just shown a couple of times this afternoon what they've missed by not having him out there this season, though, too. Just that speed.
But don't say that, because that's sad, because I'm not sure if they're ever going to get him back.
Yeah, I know, I understand that, too, and that is really sad to think that.
Just 5 possessions.
Yeah, but it's just the way he gets his possessions in really heavy traffic.
Yeah, tragedy. Well, seemingly a tragedy. It's not over yet. Neither's the count as he goes down towards half-forward that time. Griffin fisted away well by Malcheski, stumbling to the ground. Mumford. In goes Higgins, wins the footy for the Dogs. I think we'll get a whistle.
You think with Cooney they might experiment just as a permanent forward? You'd still have a lot to offer as a forward.
I think they'd be doing that if they could now, Kirky. I mean, the problem is actually getting enough training into him and you know, the amount of rest he needs between training sessions and then playing.
Brilliant by Minson, down to Higgins. Johannesson across the ground, well-weighted kick. Roberts perhaps could have done a little better there. Battles with Morton. Lays a good tackle, does Roberts, but not before Richards got the ball off to Shaw. That's a beautiful effort. Again, just lobbing it over the head of the defender, who was Griffin. The mark was taken by McGlynn. Not sure that's the spot for it. Yong, from what we've seen today.
Oh, no. Got his foot.
I was going to say he was too good to be treated like that, but he made a mistake right on the line, or an involuntary mistake, in as much as the ball hit his shin. I suppose most mistakes are involuntary. Here's McVeigh then. Just outside the boundary. That's a lovely kick. Sweetly timed. It's beautiful. So that margin is climbing now, and this is the disappointing thing, I think, for Brendan McCartney. It's up to 63 points. 12
goal kickers now. Their midfielders, Hanbury are midfielder goals, O'Keefe are midfielder goals, McVeigh are midfielder goals, Jack are midfielder goals, McGlynn, Parker, McGlynn more half forward, I know, but again, their midfielders getting goals today. Yeah, they work so hard at both ends of the ground. I mean, they work back defensively, but when they break, as we've mentioned, they break extremely quickly. And that's just an unbelievable kick. I mean, the ball went a little bit left, then drifted right. That is just the perfect kick. Probably from that angle, maybe 2 out of 10. His career high was against the Dogs, 6. This is the highest score the Swans have scored in 5 seasons, over 5 seasons. Well, the funny thing about that is the Bulldogs are going to go away from this game pretty happy with their own attacking effort today. Yeah. So this has been a goal feast. Boyd tucked it back in. And so free kick.
I would say McVeigh's probably second to Jetta in the club as that being a really composed kicker on the run and goal kicking.
So Johannesson, that's high praise, Kirky, and a good mark taken by Matner.
Up to 20, Johannesson.
No, we like him.
He's shown something, hasn't he?
Well, he's a good athlete. He's courageous, and he's a beautiful kick. He's going to be a very good player. Here's Goods. How have you marked Goods' game? I've asked him about that, Kirky. How have you marked it?
It's still below par, but we have very high expectations about him. Goods. I thought seeing him in the midfield early that they might have injected him in there would have been worth an experiment. I think when things aren't working in the midfield for your team, it's something to have up your sleeve. But he's obviously working himself back into form and some fitness.
Bird along the boundary, and it's fisted out of bounds. You're a music man of sorts, Bruce. I just want to ask you a question about Beatles song, Blackbird. Remember that?
I do. It's my wife's favourite song.
Is that right?
Yeah,
well, tell her to tune in. Tell her to tune in next Monday, because on X Factor, there's a young girl, 14 years of age, Bendelka Ditcha, does a remarkable version of that. I saw the tape during the week. Get a chance, have a look. Bad night for the Blackbirds last night, of course. The Magpies and the Crows both losers, but the Swans are going to win this afternoon. Here's Young.
It's been good, Young. And that one, a contest. Smith did well. He just got rid of Smith. Smith getting rid of Smith. And then O'Keefe, who's been excellent.
Oh, look at this.
That's a lovely kick by Shaw. So Kennedy's the one midfielder who hasn't kicked a goal so far today for the Swans. They've had 12 individual goal scorers, their biggest score in over 5 seasons. And Kennedy, he's going to join McVeigh, Hanbury, O'Keefe, Jack, McGlynn, Parker as midfield goal scorers today.
And Shaw only had 1 touch in the first half. He's up to 13 now. 2 exquisite kicks in this last quarter.
And Kennedy doesn't miss. He's been fantastic at the set shots this season. He's kicked 14 goals, 2 from the sets. Their depth in the midfield, I mean, I'm not sure who their number 1 midfielder is. I mean, is it Kennedy?
Well, I think for breaking lines, it's probably Kieran Jack now.
Okay, most clubs, Tim, you'd say, yeah, I know who their number 1 midfielder is, and then you've got your 3 around him. Swans are deep and
they're
wide,
deep,
aren't they?
Yeah, you're right.
And if Bolton...
They will miss, but if Bolton doesn't come back for that final month of footy, though, they're really going to miss him, and that's probably going to be becoming, one of the stories of the game.
So 69 points. There's Ryan Griffin on 45 at the moment. Club record for the Dogs all time is 46. Simon Atkins. Sometimes it's nice to tie a record. Ask Mark Taylor. See what happens, how it plays out. Smith goes down towards half forward. Coming up the ground is Reid. Markovic, Young. Get some traction there. I think he's put it out of bounds on the full. He has. Just wide. Intended to be in the path of Murphy.
Dennis, we've spoken a lot about Griffin's possessions, but between him and Boyd, they've had 79 possessions now.
Boyd has been, he's been Boyd-like today, but he hasn't been overpowering, has he?
It's been like Haylist against Black Caviar. You haven't noticed him as much. Just wonder, if this was serious, they don't play Seaby and Mumford together, do they?
Well, really?
No, I think, well, it would be LRT and probably Mumford if that was the case.
I think you're right. After the boundary throw in, he must have pushed in the back there to Griffin. Give him a kick, umpire. Hand pass comes from Reid to McVeigh. McVeigh, the longer it's gone, the better he's played. And Young commits to the pack and thumps it out of bounds. That is a story. He's a young man that came into the team only last week. We said last week he didn't set the world on fire, but he looked as though he belonged. And now he's had a really good day. Obviously enjoyed the week, the notoriety and the feel of playing league football. 9 possessions to start in the shadow of Griffin, but he's shown a lot of courage today too against the best combo in the competition. No possession there, but Griffin is still moving alongside that football, but it goes out, so we'll have a throw in.
There's nothing better, Tim, than when you're having a bad year, when you find a couple of blokes later. I mean, Sheedy was the pass master at Essendon, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Producing a player or two late.
Yeah, and for the Bulldogs, Clay Smith is going to be a very good young player. They've got Johannesson and also now Jong or Yong to look forward to. You put another pre-season in 3 of those blokes, and they're going to be A-grade players in a couple of years.
So Edison down the line after getting the free. Richards belts it away. Or Griffin here, does he equal it? He's got it equal, I think, 46.
Yep.
Tap by McVeigh. Reed, good pick up. Shaw, Tim's talked about his contribution since half-time, and Markovic belts it over. So to get the record straight, Ryan Griffin right now sits on the most disposals equal to any other Bulldog since we've been keeping the records of 46. Let's see if he can better it in the last 2.5 minutes.
Margin 69 points, thumped forward by Mumford. Hanbury goes after it, hooks back across the body, using his body down there. Roughhead Kennedy slapped it very aggressively towards McVeigh, bounced off him.
There is.
Out of the pack, yes, Tim.
That's
we'll
a record.
handle this, Tim. We were waiting to pounce. We've got some real sort of stuff to roll out, and there you were, just jumping the gun. Here's John Siracusa. Bruce and I, we're accomplished at that, overstating the obvious.
Well, I forgot what I was going to say. Here's Cooney.
He's got the record, Bruce. He's got the record.
Wallace
47, Bruce.
to Boyd, and then Boyd on the burst. And Skinner not quite. Well, there's a good battle. Jetta and Skinner. And Jetta's, he's the best kick in the competition on the run. Goods. Shaw's not bad on the run either. Can he lace it out? Not quite. Really good effort by Roughhead, building the ball forward. I haven't had this much fun in about 5 days, I reckon. Dennis, has been fantastic. Here's Griffin. Just, high tackle.
Too high.
Give it to him, Uppy. He's had an airing.
Oh, no.
Goods. Well, Goods umpires himself and says, no, I don't want to go with it. I don't need another disposal. McVeigh can have it. They open them up. Jack's been terrific. Bang, onto the chest. Well, not quite. There he is, Griffin. He's got the all-time record.
And 50 was a possibility, wasn't it? Had he got a kick there. Now, Mumford's got the football somewhere out there amongst our viewers. Simon Atkins has just stomped out of the lounge room. They wouldn't do that, Simon. He's still got a bloke.
Did he hurt his groin here?
He should have got the kick, though. Yeah. He was tackled high. Well, that's a sad ending. If that's the case. Yeah, Mumford kicks the goal. So he's been good. That's something that is most unusual, really. I mean, these guys have gone forward this afternoon, Pike and Mumford, and they've kicked goals and they've looked dangerous in the process. So we might see more of that come finals time.
13 goal kickers too, Dennis.
Yeah.
They've had a great goal spread, the Sydney Swans.
We talked about trying to restrict it under 50 when the margin was mid-30s in that last quarter, Tim. So in that respect, it's gone off the rails, hasn't it?
They have exploded offensively, and that bloke, he'd need a good leg grab after the afternoon that he's performed.
Incredible. So a record for Griffin, a club record. And Josh just tells me the Swans have never kicked 25 goals. This is South Melbourne since 1897. Never kicked 25 goals when nobody's kicked more than 3. So they've had 13 goal scorers today. That spread they're going to love. Here's Shaw. So the blokes on 3 are not allowed to kick a goal in the last 2 minutes. A kick to the pocket, free kick to Jetta, I think.
That is such a weird stat. I mean, how does he come up with those, Josh? It's very strange.
So Jetta, 3 goals only in the last 5 matches, including today. Will this be his 40th goal for the year? Does he do a McVeigh? Well, he's got the McVeigh boot on. He's got 40 for the year, and they've got 14 goal scorers today. It's been one of those days, Tim, hasn't it?
They just put the foot or the pedal to the metal and away they go, and that's what we're talking about, their ability to actually score quickly and to score heavily.
Can they beat Hawthorn next week?
Well, I don't think it's going to be a scorecard like this. They won't be kicking 20 goals each if they beat Hawthorn next week.
Can they beat Hawthorn, Dennis? It's in
Where
Sydney.
are they playing? No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Be at the SCG, they won't it?
Yep.
Yeah, it will.
Be a big match.
Depends. Where's Buddy? What's going on with Buddy? Didn't play again today. Big story.
Tummy ache, I think.
There's the run home for the Swans. It's not bad, actually. It's tough.
Yep.
They won't mind that.
No. Nice work out today and then get into that.
If they get one of the 2, they'll finish in the top 2 and they'll get that home first final.
Wallace tries to dig it out, taken by Parker. That's a beautiful hand pass into the path of McGlynn under pressure, and the pressure affected the kick. He puts it wide, so clock stops on 1 second. It'll be the kick in and not much else. McVeigh Up to 24 possessions. Quiet early. Wood, who started on goods, to some effect. Wait for the siren. Entertaining game. One of those games you came along to not expecting an awful lot, but it gave us plenty of highlights.
Dogs led by 3 goals at quarter time, and the Swans kicked 23 goals to 7 after that.